And hello, one and all, guys. Welcome to my review for last night's edition of SmackDown Live. We're going to take a look at everything that took place on the November 8th, 2016 edition of SmackDown Live, which emanated from Glasgow, Scotland. But before I get into that, I just want to say, was it a crazy election last night or what? I mean, that thing, it just kept going and going and going, and I don't really want to talk about it for too long, but the result kind of surprised me, and it's just really shocking, and I'm not really sure where this country is headed in the future, but it'll be interesting to watch. So that's all I really want to say about that. So I am at least happy that this long, drawn-out election is over, so we'll have to see where things go from here, but yeah. Let's talk about, guys, tonight, SmackDown Live. I thought last night's edition of SmackDown was overall a solid edition of the show. I really liked, the announcements that we had set up for the Survivor Series card in 2 weeks. And I also liked the title match between Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss. So we're going to talk about that, of course. So how did we kick off last night's edition of SmackDown from Glasgow, Scotland? We had AJ Styles. He came down to the ring, the face that runs the place. He talks about Ambrose and how Ambrose has a championship opportunity at the TLC pay-per-view. And Styles says Ambrose doesn't even deserve to be in the same ring as him. And Styles likewise calls out James Ellsworth. He says, they're not going to fly Ellsworth all the way out to Scotland. And Styles said, he then reiterated about the fact that he wants to kick the crap out of Team Raw. And before he was going to announce his opponents to the ring, Baron Corbin would come down to the ring. And I like the fact, fitting with his Lone Wolf character, he said, I don't really see fit. I'm not going to help you guys. I really don't see a need to help you guys. And, pretty much that's it. I'm done. I'm out of here. And we had Dean Ambrose come down to the ring, the Wyatt family with Randy Orton. So all the members of Team SmackDown Live were in the ring together, and eventually Shane McMahon and James Ellsworth would come down to the ring, and the announcement was made that James Ellsworth is going to be the official mascot of SmackDown Live. So a nice little announcement here. Like I said, I know some people are annoyed with James Ellsworth, but I still like him. He's a fun, loving character, wrestler. He loses more than he wins, but, I enjoy him, and he certainly adds something different to the shows. So if he's going to be the mascot at Survivor Series, sure, I think that's a nice role for him to have for Team SmackDown Live. And, that was pretty much what happened here in this segment. And eventually Shane announced that it would be the Wyatt family, teaming up with Dean Ambrose, Baron Corbin, and James Ellsworth to take place as our main event on tonight's show. So we had that announcement too. So, not a bad way for SmackDown to kick off here. And then eventually we had a backstage segment after this between Baron Corbin and Shane McMahon. Corbin, once again, sticking to his Lone Wolf character, said, what, I don't really feel like participating in tonight's match. I don't really see a need to, I really don't see any benefits coming out of it. And Shane said, well, all right then, you're going to be in action against a returning wrestler that you've had issues with in the past, and of course that would be Kalisto. So it was great to hear that Kalisto finally made his long overdue return. I believe he was suffering from knee injuries, so Kalisto made his return on last night's edition of SmackDown Live. So we had Kalisto versus Corbin lined up later on in the show. And then we had our first match of the evening. It was the qualifying match to determine who would be the final tag team to join Team SmackDown Live. And it was the Vaudevillains versus Breezango. So they, we really haven't seen much of Breezango in quite a while, but they finally made their return back to SmackDown TV. And in a really quick match, really in a matter of minutes, Breezango was able to pick up the win. They planted Aiden English with the Falcon Arrow, so the Vaudevillains continue to go on their losing ways. I don't know what they're planning on doing with them. I do like the Vaudevillains. I just feel, maybe it was a mistake looking back on it to have them be a heel team. Maybe in the long run, maybe they should have been a babyface team, to eventually get that support from the crowd. Because the crowd really just does not care about these guys at all. And then, I thought they were a solid team. Not the greatest, but just a solid team on NXT. And I'd definitely like to see them do more with the Vaudevillains. But Breeze Dongo takes the final spot here on SmackDown Live. So yeah, that was what it was. We had our second match of the evening. It was Natalya versus Naomi. Nikki Bella was on commentary. Before the match could even get going, Carmella would make her way down to the ring. And Carmella and Nikki would begin to go at it with one another, obviously stemming from their issues over the past couple of months. Natalya, being the coach for the women for Team SmackDown Live, tried to get in between them. Nikki would actually drop Carmella with a forearm shot. Natalya would go right back in the ring and lose to Naomi via a small package. So, short match here. Not really too much to say about it, but they're trying to see how, play up the animosity that Nikki and Carmella have been, going at it, and how will they be able to get on the same page heading into Survivor Series. That's certainly going to be an issue for the women on the SmackDown side of things, and of course the issues between Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch, as we saw later on in the night, happen. So we had a backstage segment. Since Baron Corbin was in action against Kalisto, that means there was an open spot in the main event later on tonight. And that spot would eventually be taken by Kane. And there was one funny line here where Ellsworth is like, "What do you want me to do?" And Kane pretty much says, "Do not get tagged in." So that was a nice little line there. We had our third match of the evening, Baron Corbin versus Kalisto. Like I said, great to see Kalisto is back in action. Was really worried about him because we really hadn't heard too much about the severity of his injury and what was quite going on there. But he did return. Looks like he's picking up his feud with Baron Corbin. And what I liked in this match was the fact that Baron Corbin tried to get out of this match by obviously faking a knee injury. And Kalisto wasn't buying it. He wasn't having any of this shit. He got right down there, ran right back to Corbin, and, he pretty much hit a frog splash right to the knee of Corbin. He threw Corbin into the steel steps, so Kalisto knew. So I like the fact that, he wasn't buying what Corbin was selling, but I'm looking forward to seeing, this feud finally pick back up. I was looking forward to it happening until Kalisto got derailed with his injury, and I think this feud, there will be a match between these two at the TLC pay-per-view on December 4th, so that should be a good match to add to that card. That's what I see taking place. So, I like this. I liked what we saw here. And then we had our fourth match of the evening, really good women's championship match. I wish this was the last match, the true main event of the show. I know they called it the main event, but I was really hoping these girls would go on last, but that's okay. They still put on a really good effort. Definitely my pick for match of the night on this show. And Alexa Bliss, she really controlled much of the pace throughout the middle part of this match. She really cut Becky off, and she continued to target the arm, the shoulder area of Becky Lynch, so I like the match psychology used there. And eventually, towards the end of the match, I like the fact that they essentially kept a cliffhanger, kept this feud going. Becky had Alexa locked in with the armbar, or the disarmer, and it looked like, could Alexa Bliss get to the ropes? Alexa tried, Becky pulled her back, but the ref was not in the correct position, so the referee missed the fact that Alexa Bliss's foot was on the ropes, and therefore the match should have continued, but the ref missed it, so the match was, declared via submission toward the winner, Becky Lynch. So Becky retained her championship, but this, however, sets up the, continuing between these two feuding. So that is good to see. I could definitely see another match between these two taking place at TLC. Maybe it gets a stipulation. We'll have to see. But this was a good match, and I want to see these two have another go-around. I liked what I saw here. And I've just been enjoying this feud between Alexa and Becky Lynch. It's just been simple, to the point. Alexa, has been building momentum with win after win after win. She's really become one of the best women heels in the entire WWE roster, as I knew she would be able to. So she'll definitely, I think, argue the fact that her foot was on the rope, and that will lead her to getting another shot at Becky Lynch's SmackDown Live Women's Championship. So really good stuff right here, and definitely my pick for match of the night. There was an interesting segment backstage. It was Shane McMahon, Daniel Bryan. They were talking about who should be the final teammate for the SmackDown Live men's side of things. They were running through the SmackDown Live roster. Eventually, The Miz and Maurice would interrupt, and Maurice got right in Daniel Bryan's face, saying The Miz was viciously upset. The fact that Dolph Ziggler is defending his Intercontinental Championship against Sami Zayn at Survivor Series, and the announcement was made that not only in addition to is Edge returning next week for the Cutting Edge on SmackDown Live 900th episode, in addition to The Undertaker returning, we're getting an IC Championship title match between The Miz and Dolph Ziggler. So that was added to the card for next week. Next week is already shaping up to be great. I'm really looking forward to, SmackDown Live 900. We got Undertaker, Edge, an IC title match. Should be really, really good stuff. So I like that. I like the fact that that was added. And in addition, we got a huge bombshell announcement for Survivor Series. Daniel Bryan announced that the Brian Kendrick would be defending his Cruiserweight Championship against a SmackDown competitor in Kalisto. That is going to be really good stuff right there. I cannot wait to see Kalisto, who I felt should be in the Cruiserweight division, go in there and tear it up with the Brian Kendrick. I think it'll be a really good match. And the huge stipulation, guys, is the fact that if Kalisto is able to win this match, the entire Cruiserweight division, along with the championship, would move to SmackDown Live. I only got one word to say about that. Yes, yes, yes. And I really would love to see, one scenario I could see taking place is if the Cruiserweights move to SmackDown, I could see them moving the Intercontinental Championship to Raw to kind of balance things out there. But I would love to see the Cruiserweights on SmackDown. While I think the 3-hour show, they should have been able to be better utilized, they're really not being able to. So if you move the Cruiserweights to SmackDown Live, I definitely think it would be a positive for the Cruiserweights. So I can't wait to see the match between the Brian Kendrick and Kalisto and Dolph Ziggler and Dolph Ziggler and Sami Zayn, along with another match between Dolph Ziggler and The Miz. A lot of good stuff lined up, so I really like this backstage segment. We had Curt Hawkins. He pinned Apollo Crews with an Oklahoma roll to get the victory, so not really too much to say here. I don't really know where they're headed with Curt Hawkins. Really don't know what they're doing with Apollo Crews. He just felt like he's been lost in the shuffle. They haven't had anything really for him to do over the past couple months, so I don't know if he needs to do something. I don't know. Like, we need to learn more about himself as a performer, as a wrestler. What are his motivations? Why is he fighting? He just stands there and smiles. That's all nice, but what is there about Apollo Crews? Why should I invest in watching you compete? And we need to understand more of that. Maybe they turn him heel. I don't know. What they're doing with him, he just really seems like he's going nowhere. And I like Apollo. He definitely is a great worker in the ring, great athlete, but he's just missing the character aspect, Like, what are his motivations? So I don't know what they're doing, but kind of surprising here to see Curt Hawkins with the win. And then we move on, folks, to our main event of the evening. This was a solid 6-man tag team match. Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, and Randy Orton, the new Wyatt family, as they're calling him, taking on Dean Ambrose, Kane, and James Ellsworth. Good action right here. Some tags back and forth between all 6 men. Eventually, Harper and Kane would brawl up the stage ramp and back behind the stage, so we lost sight of them. It eventually came down to, I believe it was Randy Orton was laid out, so we had Ambrose. He hit a suicide dive to both Orton and Bray Wyatt, and he rolled Bray back into the ring, and eventually Ambrose attempted to go for the dirty deeds, but that's where Harper interfered, and like I said, Kane and him began to brawl all the way up to the stage, and they went out of sight, and Ambrose attempted to go for the lunatic lariat, but Ellsworth, Ambrose connected with the lunatic lariat. Ellsworth tagged himself in, and it looked like he might hit no chin music on Bray Wyatt. Got me thinking there, well, maybe could he beat Bray Wyatt? But Bray was able to counter real quickly right into Sister Abigail for the victory. Afterwards, Shane McMahon runs down to the ring to keep, Styles was a commentary. He comes in the ring. It looks like they're going to beat down the Wyatts, and Styles are going to beat down Ambrose and Ellsworth. Shane comes in the ring, and Daniel Bryan comes down to the ring to a monstrous reaction. Great pop for DB. And Brian makes the announcement that Shane McMahon, and Shane accepts that he will be the 5th member of SmackDown Live for their Survivor Series team. That's a huge announcement right there. I, for one, I like it. We haven't seen Shane compete since WrestleMania, so it definitely feels special to see him, going in there, taking on Team Raw. So, nice announcement here to close out the show. Overall, I thought this was a mostly solid edition of SmackDown Live. Definitely better than Raw, because Raw just had way too much talking on it, but this was an enjoyable 2 hours of wrestling to watch. And if I had to give last night's edition of SmackDown Live a show grade, I would give that show a B. I'd go with a solid B for SmackDown Live. So that's it for my thoughts on SmackDown Live, guys. Let me know your full thoughts and opinions on what took place last night. And remember to leave all your comments down below. Remember to please click that like and subscribe button for more video content coming soon to this channel. And be on the lookout for me in my next video, whenever that may be. So that is it, guys, for my SmackDown Live review. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Till then, guys, take care.